Mr. President, there are 865 million people still in poverty, according to yourself.
Yes.
That is stunning.
You expressed amazement just now, a minute ago, about the fact that 865 million people are still living in poverty. Translate that 800 million people to 800 million people lifted out of poverty by China. And you see the magnitude of the achievement, how powerful it is, how impressive it is, and how unique it is. And that's why we think that China is an ideal partner with the United Nations to share these experiences.
President Francis, talking about war.
Yes.
We have one right now in Gaza. There have been multiple United Nations resolutions calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, an immediate ceasefire, because people are dying, children are dying.
Yes. And that continues to be a major, major worry for us in the General Assembly and for the wider United Nations. Forget not that the aim of the United Nations when it was set up, and even now, was to save humanity from the scourge of war, the pain, the suffering, and the degradation that war imposes on human beings. And that remains valid to today. But the General Assembly has not sat idly by on its wrists and done nothing. We have in fact passed 2 resolutions in the General Assembly, and I'm very proud of my colleagues in the Assembly that this has been so. We passed 2 very strong resolutions, both calling for an immediate ceasefire, the immediate unconditional return of all hostages, the facilitation of access to Gaza by humanitarian agencies in order to carry out their responsibilities to provide aid and support to those who need it, and for there to be dialogue and diplomacy between the 2 parties, the initiation of dialogue with a view to finding a permanent and lasting situation. I have to say that those 2 resolutions were passed in the General Assembly. They've not been implemented, and those resolutions were passed at the height of a period when the Security Council itself, after several attempts, had not been able to adopt a resolution on Gaza. It was only in the wake of the General Assembly first resolution, and with China's assuming the presidency of the Security Council in November, that the Council found its way to adopting a humanitarian resolution on Gaza. It is a major worry, the situation in Gaza. It persists. As it stands at the moment, starvation is a real problem. The probability of public health diseases, lack of water, people are living under the most dire conditions, totally unsatisfactory. We continue to hope. In fact, let me use the opportunity of this interview to call yet again for a ceasefire in Gaza. It really is the beginning of a process that could amply and necessarily take care of the humanitarian needs of the people in Gaza. Let me say this. Humanitarian needs are needs of people in desperate situations. They have no options. They can't go somewhere else. In fact, they're locked in, and the clock is ticking. So one hopes that the relevant authorities will see how important it is to take action to address those humanitarian needs.